13 days ago, the United States government published a report that puts an exact dollar figure on something most retirees suspect but few have seen confirmed in writing. Your Social Security retirement check faces a 22% automatic reduction as early as the fourth quarter of 2032. That is the official projection from the Social Security Board of Trustees released on June 9th of 2026. It is not a rumor circulating on social media. It is not a political promise or a partisan threat. It is the actuarial conclusion reached jointly by the Secretary of the Treasury, the Commissioner of Social Security, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and the Acting Secretary of Labor, the four officials legally charged with overseeing the funds that deposit money into your account every single month. For the average retired worker in America right now, that 22% means $456 disappearing from a single monthly payment. For the average retired couple, it means $706 gone in one cycle. No new law is needed for this to happen. No vote in Congress is required. Existing statute already mandates the cut automatically the moment a specific trust fund balance reaches zero. Now imagine yourself on an ordinary Tuesday morning walking to the mailbox. Everything feels routine. You pull out your statement expecting the same deposit that has arrived reliably for years. But the number is wrong. It is lower by an amount that covers your groceries for the entire month, your prescription co-pays, your summer electric bill. There was no call, no warning clear enough to act on. Just less money starting now. That scenario is the projected mathematical outcome of current law applied to current finances, if nothing changes between this moment and the end of 2032. What you're about to read is the complete explanation of what the trustees actually reported, the dangerous mistake millions of retirees are making right now that compounds this problem catastrophically, and the 3 precise actions available to you today that build the strongest possible financial position regardless of what Congress does or does not do over the next 6 years. The trust fund in question is called the Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund, abbreviated OASI. It currently pays monthly retirement and survivor benefits to approximately 56 million Americans. According to the 2026 Trustees Report, this fund is projected to reach complete depletion in the fourth quarter of 2032, 1 full quarter earlier than was projected in last year's report. Upon depletion, the system can only pay out what it collects in real-time payroll tax revenue from workers currently employed across the country. That incoming revenue covers exactly 78% of scheduled benefits. The remaining 22% cannot legally be paid because no borrowing mechanism exists under current law and no legislation currently authorizes supplemental funding. A separate but related date causes enormous confusion. The combined trust funds, meaning the retirement fund pooled together with the disability fund as a single calculation, face projected depletion in the third quarter of 2034, with 83% of combined benefits payable at that point, representing a 17% reduction. However, these are 2 legally independent funds governed by separate statutory authority. The Disability Insurance Trust Fund on its own remains solvent for the full 75-year projection window through 2100. Disability benefits are not at immediate risk. Retirement benefits are. If you currently collect a retirement or survivor check, or if you plan to begin collecting within the next several years, the 2032 date is the one that applies directly to your income. 3 specific factors cause this year's projection to move forward. The first is declining fertility. The trustees reduced their assumed total fertility rate from 1.9 to 1.75 children per woman. Fewer births today produces fewer payroll tax-paying workers 2 decades from now. The second is reduced immigration. Assumed annual net immigration was lowered from 1.35 million to 1.2 million persons, again shrinking the future tax base. The third is recent legislation. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, enacted July 4th of 2025, permanently extended lower income tax rates from 2017 and created a temporary $6,000 additional standard deduction for taxpayers over 65. While that deduction benefits seniors on current tax returns, it reduces revenue flowing into Social Security from income taxation of benefits, directly accelerating depletion. The scale of the annual shortfall is enormous. In 2025, Social Security collected $1.45 trillion in total income, consisting of $1.323 trillion in payroll taxes, $58 billion from taxation of benefits, and $69 billion in interest on reserves. Expenditures that year reached $1.61 trillion, producing a $160 billion single-year deficit covered by liquidating reserves held as special treasury bonds. Remaining reserves at year-end stood at $2.56 trillion, down from $2.72 trillion 12 months earlier. The 75-year actuarial deficit has worsened to 4.42% of taxable payroll from 3.82% in the prior report, and the total unfunded obligation now reaches $29.3 trillion, up from $25.1 trillion. Current benefit levels in 2026 put concrete dollar amounts on these percentages. The maximum benefit at full retirement age of 67 is $4,152 monthly. Claimed at 62, the maximum is $2,969. The average retired worker receives $2,071 monthly. The average couple receives $3,208. The 2026 cost of living adjustment was 2.8%. Apply the 22% reduction, and the average retiree drops to approximately $1,615, losing $456 monthly or $5,472 annually. The average couple falls to approximately $2,502, losing $706 monthly or $8,472 per year. The maximum earner at full retirement age drops to $3,239, losing $913 monthly or $10,956 annually. Absent legislative action, the payable percentage continues declining to 62% of scheduled retirement benefits by 2100. The most financially destructive response to these projections is the one millions of people are choosing right now based on fear rather than understanding. Consider a 67-year-old electrician in Ohio who contributed to Social Security for 38 consecutive years. When he turned 62 in the 2021, a neighbor advised him to claim immediately before all the money disappeared. Frightened by headlines, he filed and locked in a permanent reduction of approximately 29%, because his full retirement age of 66 in 10 months was nearly 5 years away. He accepted roughly $2,700 monthly instead of the approximately $3,800 he would have received at full retirement age. He believed the system would reach zero. It does not. Even after complete trust fund depletion, 185 million workers continue paying payroll taxes every pay period. Revenue continues. Benefits continue at 78%, never at zero. This man permanently sacrificed 29% based on a misunderstanding of the difference between trust fund depletion and program termination. If the 22% cut now applies on top of his already reduced base, his check drops from $2,700 to approximately $2,106, a compounded loss of nearly $600 every month compared to what he could have built by waiting until 70 and accumulating delayed retirement credits of 8% per year above full retirement age. 5 misconceptions are fueling these destructive decisions. First, Social Security does not disappear in 2032. It continues indefinitely at 78% as long as workers pay taxes. Second, the assumption that Congress will certainly prevent the cut is dangerous. No major structural reform has occurred since 1983, over 40 years ago, and no fully addressing legislation is currently enacted or advancing. Third, only future retirees being affected is incorrect. Current law applies the reduction universally to all beneficiaries simultaneously, with no grandfather protection. Fourth, claiming at 62 to get money before it vanishes is potentially the most costly mistake possible. Early filing permanently reduces the base by up to 30%. A 22% cut applied later to that smaller base devastates through compounding. Delaying to 70 builds a base 24% larger than full retirement age, absorbing future cuts far more effectively. Fifth, the annual COLA does not protect against the shortfall. COLA compensates for inflation and has zero connection to solvency. A 22% cut erases decades of COLA increases in one cycle. Benefits are legally protected under Title II of the Social Security Act as earned benefits tied to lifetime earnings. They cannot be removed by executive action. Only Congress can change the formula through legislation. The 2026 earnings test permits up to $24,480 before full retirement age with $1 withheld for every 2 above. In the year you reach full retirement age, the limit rises to $65,160 with 1 withheld for every 3 above. After full retirement age, no limit exists. Withheld amounts are not lost but restored as permanently higher payments once full retirement age is reached. Congressional solutions include raising the payroll tax from 12.4 to 16.65% if enacted immediately, eliminating the earnings cap at $184,500, raising the full retirement age or means testing higher earners. Deferral to 2034 raises the needed tax increase to 17.3%, or requires 28.5% benefit cuts. 3 actions are required now. First, log in to your My Social Security account at ssa.gov and examine every year of your earnings record. Each error permanently reduces your benefit. Dispute discrepancies immediately while documentation remains accessible. Note your projected benefit at 62, full retirement age, and 70. Second, if you have not claimed and are between 62 and 70, evaluate seriously whether delay is feasible. Each month past full retirement age adds 2/3 of 1% permanently. Each year adds 8% permanently. That growth applies to every future payment and every future COLA calculated on the higher base. The gap between 62 and 70 can exceed $1,400 monthly, representing hundreds of thousands over a full retirement. Third, contact both senators and your House representative through 202-224-3121 or at congress.gov. Demand protection of earned benefits without cuts to current or future retirees. This is arithmetic, not politics. Voters over 65 vote at the highest rate of any demographic and carry exceptional influence. For those who already filed, maximizing spousal benefits, planning around the earnings test, reducing taxable income to lower taxation of benefits, and verifying records all remain available. If you filed within 12 months, you may still withdraw, repay benefits received, and refile later at a permanently higher amount. 6 years remain before 2032. That is meaningful time to delay claims, build supplemental savings, correct records, and maintain sustained pressure on representatives. In 1983, Congress reformed Social Security when the fund was months from exhaustion. Whether history repeats is uncertain. What is certain is that your actions are within your control, while congressional behavior is not. COLA does not defend against depletion cuts. These are separate mechanisms under separate law. Those most harmed will be those who never learned these numbers, never checked records, never understood that depletion means reduction, not termination, and never demanded action while time remained. Those best positioned will be those who built maximum benefit bases, planned on realistic assumptions, and engaged civically before deadlines arrived. Everything here derives from the 2026 Trustees Report and published Social Security Administration data. Projections update annually. Verify all information at ssa.gov before making decisions. Share this with everyone who depends on Social Security, because one conversation now prevents a devastating surprise 6 years from today. Subscribe so every projection update, legislative development, and rule change reaches you immediately. The Retirement Desk